Oh, hi. Just beamed in to talk to you about a show that I just finished binging, called Star Trek. And now, not like the Star Trek, I don't know which one you know and love. The Next Generation is the one that I just finished watching. And I gotta say, it's a pretty good show for just three actual characters and then a bunch of plot devices, you know? And I will say it starts off a little, it gets into some good stuff, but it starts off a little rough, like in the beginning. The very first episode is a Q episode, and if you've never watched it, we're going to have probably some spoilers. So, maybe don't take this as like a preview, and take this as like, hey, here's what's in the show. So basically, you've got a couple of real characters. You've got the Captain Picard. You've got his first officer who doesn't show up until after the pilot. And then you've got I don't know, in my opinion, Lieutenant Yar is a more interesting character than she gets credit for. But then everybody else is just a plot device. You've just got the best of the best working on this one ship, which it starts off talking, this is it's a Galaxy class ship. It's the greatest ship ever. And then later on we find out, oh no, actually there's another ship that was built that's exactly like it in every way, shape, or form, except for apparently their crew isn't all the very top of they don't have, the best doctor in the galaxy. They don't have the greatest engineer in the galaxy. They don't have, it's fine, I get it. It just seems like for one ship whose job it is to just float around space and like, hey, there's a new planet, they get into a lot of trouble. So the first episode is a Q episode. Now Q is a member of what's called the Continuum, and he can go anywhere and do anything, which is super fun and super convenient. And it's later on they use that ability, in fact, to be, we want to introduce the Borg. So Q just made him go see the Borg because he was in a mood, I guess. Again, plot convenience. How did they figure out who the Borg were? Well, they had Geordi LaForge, who was the greatest engineer of all time. Oh, there's something the greatest human engineer needs done but he can't physically do because he's human. Good thing the only android in the Federation is on the same ship as the only Klingon in the Federation is on the same ship as the only bald guy in his 40s in the Federation, Now, that being said, I know it probably sounds like I'm complaining about it a lot, and I promise you that I'm not. I actually really like the show. But it does seem like it comes and goes in waves, and you can sort of really feel a tonal shift after the passing of Gene Roddenberry. It becomes a lot less whimsical and a lot more, I don't want to say serious, because there's very little that's serious about the show. But it tries to focus more on its tone. And even the intro changes a little bit. It gets updated, Let's see. One of the things that I noticed from the first season and then moving on, I guess they got a better budget. The uniforms almost immediately change. They look less sailory, and they become the uniforms that I think that you and I probably more closely associate with Star Trek: The Next Generation. And they even go so far as to change Worf's metal sash thing from this gold frilly thing to this like chain link snow tire looking apparatus, which they also never explain, as far as I can remember in any of the episodes that I watched, which I guess is fine. But his makeup, Worf's makeup, also gets a huge upgrade. You can, in the first couple episodes, you can almost see the seams from the prosthetics on his face, and it's so caked up, and it's melting under the lights. And then later on, it just gets better and better, all the way up until he that show ends and then they pick him up on Deep Space Nine. And it just gets better and better and better. Eventually, we all know that Worf becomes the head of security. And he takes the place of a Lieutenant Yar. I like Lieutenant Yar's character because they do, with her, one, she's one of the few characters that was a recurring character that kept coming back, that had plot points, and it was, she dies. And it was like she left, and then, I guess, I don't know, maybe, she re-lost custody of one of her dogs again or something, but she got to come back, and the way that they brought her back was one of the most creative time-traveling stories that I've ever, maybe not ever seen, but it was really good. Like, I honestly enjoyed it. Get into Data is a huge deal. Like I said, he's the only android in the Federation. He's only one of 2 sentient androids, because of course he's got to have an evil brother, whose name is Lore, which is super fun. I don't know if they named themselves or the old man that built them named them, but it was, the more they delved into that was a lot of fun. That was a fun story to. You feel sad for Data the whole time because you just want him to have the one thing he wants, which is the one thing that we all take, including his brother, that we all take for granted. And I didn't watch any of the movies. I only watched the show. I think in the movies he ends up being able to have limited emotions. I can't remember. I'll go back and watch the movies and maybe we'll do another one of these based on those. But as far as the show goes, he ends up never really meeting that goal in the show. But of course his best friend, Data's best friend, is Geordi LaForge. And Geordi LaForge, like I said, is the greatest engineer. He keeps outdoing every old man doctorate scientist that he meets in his path. He keeps, oh no, you're a brilliant scientist and I look up to you so much. And then he ends up knowing more than they do. He also has a fun trick of, he's blind and uses a visor to be able to see. But then they give him that kind of a plot device where, oh, his visor can see. Well, it can see everything. It can see everything in the electromagnetic spectrum. So the stuff that you can't see, well, he can. So it makes it better. But it's also a handicap because he's blind. And it gives him just a little bit of a headache every day. Other than that, I mean, what bad thing can you say about LeVar Burton? Nothing. He taught us all to love how to read. Before Wishbone dethroned him and pooped on his legacy. Captain Picard, I think he's meant to be, I think Captain Picard and his first officer, Lieutenant Riker, I think Captain Picard and his first officer, Commander Riker, are sort of meant to embody 2 sides of a coin, because you've got the almost over-serious Captain Picard and then the almost non-professionally playful Commander Riker, but they're so perfectly balanced that they end up making this perfect 1-2 punch in every mission that they go on, and then they get the job done magically. And they allude to some real depth that I don't feel like they fully dig up, which is fine. It leaves more to the imagination. That's more fun for the viewers. But you've got Riker has this dark history, even with Counselor Troy, who again is another plot device because she can kind of read minds, but not really. But if they need to move the story forward and they just need to know what somebody's not necessarily thinking, but at least feeling, they've got Troy, and she's always showing her cleavage. So that's that whole character. But, Riker's got a history with her, and he seems to, as roguish and playful as he is, he gets along with the over-serious, over-professional Captain Picard almost perfectly. And then Captain Picard will have these flashes of playfulness that's, I don't know, it makes us endear him even more. he's just like, I don't know, he's what I think Americans really picture the English as, like overly gruff, but with a secret sense of humor, that they actually get along with us better than they want us to think they do. The stories tend to move pretty well. There seems to be a lag in the last couple seasons. There was a stint. There was like 3 child episodes of how hard it is to be Worf's 3/4 Klingon son, or how hard it is to be a kid on the Enterprise, or just how hard it is to be a kid in general. And I don't know if they were trying to expand their viewership or if they were just spitballing different ideas. It came off like Counselor Troy at one point has this magical space baby that grows up super fast, and somehow she isn't terrified of it. She becomes attached to it, but then it has to like leave and go back to its pure energy life form, and she's all sad about it, and it's just a bummer. Like it's a scary. It starts off scary and ends up sad, and I don't necessarily like that. But those episodes, like I said, were the exception and not the rule. And the rule was you're having fun space exploration. You know, it's at its heart. Like I said, it starts off weird and goofy and still gets into these very Star Trek-y kind of moments that are just... they're very Gene Roddenberry Star Trek. And after that point that you see this pivotal shift in that show, everything that came after that, from Deep Space Nine to Voyager to the disaster that was the Enterprise, to the stuff that they're coming out with now, it feels different. It feels like somebody else's vision. And that's a shame, because Roddenberry's original vision was a vision of hope and optimism, in spite of all the challenges that they face as the human race expands out into the galaxy. And I give it 2 space thumbs up. I give it 4 fingers and a thumb out. Whatever you want to do. But that's, well, anyway, that's Bingies on Star Trek. Hopefully I haven't accidentally called it Star Wars at any point in the time that we've been talking about it. And thanks for watching. Please, very, very gently but firmly press, a like button, a subscribe button, your own button if you're feeling, no, don't do that. Or do that. I don't care what you do. Just, I hope you liked the video. I'll probably do another one on the original series. I started with this one because it was part of my childhood, and I hope it was part of yours too. And if it hasn't been, I hope it will be Sunday. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.